Good evening, everyone. Today we have Kiran Patil, MM 2004, who will be talking about renewable energy and electric vehicles in Asia. Kiran, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Nikhil, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, everybody, for joining this particular webinar. So my topic today is renewable energy and electrical vehicles in Asia. I completed my master's in management in 2004, and there onwards, I'm mostly in either in renewable energy or electric vehicles. Electric vehicles is relatively new thing. Maybe 2008-17 onwards, I'm a part of electric vehicles. So let me start, and then this is how going to be the flow of this particular webinar. So it will start with from my MM 2004 to till date what I have done. Then renewable energy in Asia. I'm just focusing on 3 countries because it's impossible to go for 7-8 countries, but this will be related to India, Philippines, Indonesia. I will talk about how was the growth pattern, what were the factors for such growth, what is the potential for renewable energy in these countries, then effect of COVID-19 on renewable energy, then related to electric vehicles, how the growth is happening, and what are the areas of interest, then effect of COVID-19 on this electric vehicle business, and what are the opportunities for our AM guys and for most of the guys for in the electric vehicle business. So I finished MM 2000 MM in 2004. Then I joined our MP sir, MP Singh sir, with him, and then we worked together for almost 3.5 years, and that's where I got the first exposure of renewable energy that was in the wind format. And during with him at Alpenstock, we had brought one UK client who was a film producer, film financer, and he had all the customers like you name the Hollywood stars and then the soccer players who wanted to invest in Indian wind sector. So we worked with them for almost 1.5 years. I visited every single site of wind in India, got some amount of expertise on this particular thing. And ultimately, they could not invest because there was no LLP structure. Even they had brought a member of parliament to deal with or talk with Mr. Chidambaram to open up for LLP. So that did not happen. In 2007, I got an opportunity to work with a German fund. They were about to form a fund. And then I was the third person to join along with German guys. And we raised 50 million in 15 days flat. So those days getting money on one face, one paper, that was really, really easy. But we failed miserably raising another 100 million in 2009, post Lehman Brothers. So whatever we could do with 50 million euros, we invested in India, China. Though the fund was initially for India and China, later on we invested in Germany, we invested in Yugoslavia, we invested in Italy. And mostly those projects were solar projects. And then during this particular 2007 to 13, I got a good exposure to all the renewable energy technologies. So maybe it's wind, maybe it's solar. We invested in hydro, we invested in LNG in China. All those investments were there. And then that really gave me a good exposure for renewable energy sector. And 2013, when I left Ecolutions, the German company, I formed a company along with one of my previous customer, and then we started working on getting the solar projects under reverse bidding. So we were 100% owners. Then we got one investor, and then we did the reverse bidding, got almost 265 megawatt of solar projects, and we completed first 70 megawatt of project. And then the investor lost his steam, and then slowly he lost interest. But we could sell that project. We got our equity stake and then whatever money we could get. And then 2017, I started thinking about electric vehicles. We studied 2017, we studied for electric vehicles, how to do something which will be sustainable in Indian market. So that was the thing. So 2017, we studied charging infrastructure, which are the vehicles, how to set up the business model, got an office at Nariman Point, all those things happen. And then we wanted to bring Tesla in India, but unfortunately we could not bring. But same time we were approached by one of the group to start a EV business, EV mobility business. So that's how we joined this Blue Smart, and I was one of the co-founder of Blue Smart. That was 2018, and 2018 I brought first 70 vehicles on leasing structure, and the things are going on, still going on. It is not taking up very high speed, but meanwhile I came across one of the battery technology, and then I'm putting my current efforts on battery technology, because what I have noticed is the battery is a very important thing in electric vehicle. So now I'll go to the first renewable energy sector, and then I'll talk about India. India is the first thing. So in India, the real progress started maybe 2004 onwards. Renewable energy started slowly. It picked up, but I have taken these particular numbers for past 6-7 years, and then these numbers can show us how fast this renewable energy has grown. Maybe we'll discuss about what are the reasons and why it has grown so fast. So 2013, we had 64 gigawatt. 1 gigawatt means 1,000 megawatt, because when you see the
Kiran,
yeah, yes.
Kiran, can you make it a slideshow? Slideshow, please. It's not in the slideshow.
Okay. I'll do that thing, slideshow. Okay. Okay. So coming back, this renewable energy, initially when I started in 2004-5, the cost was a big deterrent. When 2007-8, when I was working with Ecolutions, the solar power price used to come at 18 to 19 rupees per kilowatt. So everything was expensive, panels were expensive. And then as the economies of scale happened, and then as the numbers started growing, and maybe technological innovation, the solar power panel prices started dwindling down. And today, people are selling the power. Of course, these are all big transactions, reverse bidding transactions that are happening. The power price has come down to 3 rupees. And then it has already achieved the grid parity. Grid parity means your renewable energy power cost is at par with thermal power. So thermal power that is produced with the help of coal. And in Indian context, as on today, we have 56% of the share with the thermal plant. That is the thermal coal accounts. Then there is a gas and oil, which produces almost 7% and 0.2%. And then when I talk about renewables, many times people don't include large hydro into renewables, but including this thing, non-polluting power, we have the share of 34.7%, and then the pure renewable energy, as per definition, we are there at the 22%. So current capacity, as on 2019, the renewable energy capacity is 138 gigawatt, out of which 22% is renewable energy. And that's how we are really progressing very well in this particular aspect. And earlier when we started in 2004, that ratio was almost 80-85%, and it has gone down to 56% coal-based power. So we are definitely progressing. And then Indian government is also putting larger targets, like target for 2022 is 175 gigawatt, out of which solar will be almost 100 gigawatt. And then it should be possible. The type of tenders and the type of reverse bidding things are coming. Of course, what has happened is now there is no space for smaller players. I was a part of those smaller players, and then we had to exit because we could not match with the competitive pricing. Means when I was in German company, I used to quote with all the consideration, and if I quote $13, then the power used to be going at 11. So I never won any reverse bidding for solar project. But now what I'm seeing is all those big five guys, they are taking all the project between them. So earlier those days, maybe having 50 megawatt or 100 megawatt project was supposed to be a big thing. But nowadays, 200, 500 megawatt has become a normal thing, because otherwise they can't manage the cost or the price at which government is pushing them hard to get these projects. So if we look at in last 6 years, two prominent renewable energy sources are doing very well. Wind energy, it has doubled almost in last 6 years, whereas solar power, it has gone maybe 38 times. Of course, the denominator was just 1 gigawatt in 2013, so that's why the number looks really big. But this solar project number of megawatt, it is going to go really big, and government is talking about 100 gigawatt by 2022, and I'm sure from currently 38 gigawatt to 100 gigawatt within next 2 years it should be possible, until and unless there is some major issues there. Now I'll go to Philippines. Philippines is the next country where we have spent more time after India, so it is very close to our heart. Like every am, it's very close to their heart. So coming to this Philippines renewable energy, one good thing that they are having is they are having geothermal and hydropower. And then if you look at these highlighted numbers, three sectors that are growing: biomass, solar, and wind. And then I'm sure the way this pricing has gone down, solar is going to take the front seat in the whole transition. And at this moment in Philippines, they have this 23.38% of the energy from renewable energy sources. They are talking about coming to 50% of the contribution of renewables. Again, we face the same issue. Fuel or oil is imported for both the countries. So I think they are really going in right direction to take a bigger advantage, because the atmosphere in Mumbai and then Philippines used to be something similar, and then we have a lot of commonality. And then I believe that they will really do big way in renewable energy, and then that will definitely help in reducing their carbon emissions as well as these oil bills also. Now I have taken third country as Indonesia. Just picked up three out of maybe we have alumina for many Asian countries, but it was really difficult to take each of the country and then do justice with all those things. So with Indonesia, when I was studying the Indonesian renewable energy market, two common threats that I could see. They initially opened the bids. Initially, the pricing used to be abnormal pricing. Then they came in feed-in tariff. Then they are giving the pay, take or pay obligations like what Indian has given. And then that's why I could see that they are also growing very well. Currently, they are having 12% of their energy from renewable energy, which they are expecting it to reach up to 23-degree in next 5 years. So I think these are the countries. The commonality between each of them is most of the countries we are not oil sufficient, and then that's the thing. The necessity pushed us towards the renewable energy, and then I think that that's a good thing that is happening there. Now, let me tell you this grid parity. Grid parity, solar power has achieved grid parity in India, whereas in other countries they are about to achieve. And I think that's the inflection point. What I have seen in last 4-5 years, the grid parity was achieved in 2016, and afterwards there is no stopping for solar power project. Because now let me compare this particular energy businesses, where what happens, like you go for hydro, there are a lot of permissions that are required, and normally to set up one hydro project it takes 2 to 4 years, sometimes 5-6 years also, even a small project of 10 megawatt. And then it requires a lot of environmental permissions, land acquisition, so many things. Similarly, You have biomass project. Biomass project, I have earlier worked in biomass project. What we notice here is for biomass project, collection of biomass is a big issue. Of course, Philippines have successfully done more than 10,000 megawatt of biomass, which is a big achievement. So then third one is wind. Wind takes almost 1 year of project gestation period, and then because a lot of metal is used, the cost per megawatt for wind projects is continuously increasing. Now look at solar. The solar project cost used to be 16 crore or 2.5 million as of current conversion rate, 2.5 million US dollars. To now it has gone down to half a million US dollars for larger project. Half a million means 3.5 to 4 crore in Indian rupees is the cost of setting up the project. And then you can set up a 100 megawatt project in 6 to 9 months time. So far you have land government permissions. So that's the reason solar has grown really fast. Initially government gave a lot of subsidies. In one of my project, we got a subsidy of almost 54 lakhs per megawatt. So that was almost maybe 80,000 US dollars subsidy was there those days. And then that's how, because the project cost was coming down, but government was supporting a lot at that particular point, and that has seen this particular increase in growth of solar power projects. There is a fall in panel prices in last 8-10 years, and which has definitely and positively impacted the growth in solar power projects. Then now what is happening, economies of scale, people are doing the reverse bidding, and then they are applying for bigger projects, 200 megawatt, 500 megawatt, this type of thing. So they are getting the benefits of economies of scale. The solar panel manufacturers are giving the special prices. So that's how what has happened is the lowest cost for any of the renewable energy technology per megawatt, lowest time for setting up the projects. So that has led to a lot of explosion in solar power project. But one of the big issue that these renewable energies are excluding hydro project and then biomass project. If you run continuously and geothermal, this solar and wind, these are not firm powers. Firm powers means you can't get it continuously. It's not in your hand. So what happens, like if I look at the power generation or power generation trend, then solar power is gets generated in a bell-shaped curve, starting from say morning 8:39 and peaking at 12:130 p.m. and then the energy gets reduced by 3 p.m. Now I have mentioned why wind plus solar and energy storage, why it will go. Everybody is trying to go for more and more megawatt in renewable energy sector because it's a one-time investment. Once you do the investment, there is hardly any raw material cost for excluding biomass. So for wind and solar, once you invest, you have just a small cost, that is operation and maintenance cost, which is very tiny, even a less than a 1% cost. So in this case, but both the things are not firm power. It doesn't produce the power continuously. So what happens with wind is the power generation starts peaking between 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. It depends with the various locations, and morning 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So if we look at all those time trends, if we add wind and solar, then there are so many tenders, reverse bidding tenders that are coming in Indian market. Indian government, various state governments, these are doing. And then they are putting the additional onus of energy storage for 2 to 4 hours. Why? Because the consumption pattern, the peak usage is between 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Not only in India, including most of the countries, because that's the time many of the people, not only the industries are still working, offices are about to get closed, but evening lights really put a lot of load on this thing. So the new tenders that are coming in India or maybe in other countries, particularly in US, so what is happening is they are stopping the coal-based plant, and then they are coming up with wind plus solar plus energy storage. And I'm sure within next 2 to 3 years, this is going to be a trend, because this power is not uniform, that power coming from wind and solar. So if when it is in a peak, it can be absorbed in the battery, and then it can be released whenever it is required. So far it becomes little more uniform power. So in energy storage, I can see a big future. Only thing, at this moment, getting a reliable energy storage at a cost, because the cost per kilowatt of the storage of energy, this is going down slowly, but I'm sure within next 1 year, as the electric vehicle requirement for batteries for electric vehicle is increasing, the market is the battery or battery cell price is going down. I'm seeing a comparative thing that is happening. What happened with solar, similar thing is going to happen with battery. And as the battery price goes down, we can definitely see this trend coming, that wind plus solar plus energy storage, and that will give us a firm power. And there are countries like India or Philippines, where we are dependent on import of oil. This is going to be a big plus for all of us. Then let me have a look at this impact of COVID. Because of COVID, everybody is afraid what is going to happen on all those fronts. So what has happened is, renewable technology like wind and solar has witnessed spectacular growth in last 10 years. This faster deployment of renewable will be vital for the world if it wants to meet the climate change goals and long-term sustainable objectives. So far so good till COVID happened, and then now we have to think what are the impacts, how it is going to impact this particular renewable energy sector. It can be any countries, whether it's US, whether it's China, or whether it's India or any other Asian countries. These are the common factors that I tried to find out how it is going to impact. So when I look at this thing, how the situation affects renewable energy will depend on two key areas. One is the duration of confinement and social distancing measured in different countries. Now, last 2 months, we are operating from home. Many of the projects, these are just lying at the situation where they were before March 15. It was forced stoppage of work in this particular thing, and if it continues, and because in the rainy season working on the site becomes little more difficult, so this duration of confinement, if it reduces or the lockdown opens, I think that issue will be taken care. But again, this particular people who are working on the ground, if they have left for their states, it's again going to be a major issue. But hopefully, thus contractors will be able to fulfill that requirement of labor requirement from the local sources or whatever way, and then this issue can get nullified. Then we are looking at the economic stimulus. We are talking about 20 lakh crore rupees economic stimulus at this particular point. And we are looking at the scope and timing of economic stimulus. What has happened in last 2 months is the economic activity has almost stopped. So everybody wants to have money. Every MSME, every industry wants to have money. So we have to see how this is going to impact how much money can be infused in renewable energy. Nowadays, what is happening? This renewable energy power is bought by government. It's most of the contracts are take or pay. So most of the state governments or counties, they have become cash strapped. So how much time they will be taking to come back to the shape, and then how much time they will take to pay this money is going to be a major concern in this particular area. Then another area that I can see is renewable energy can face main challenges from this particular crisis is supply chain disruption that can lead to delays in completing the project. For example, for solar panels, India is at least 80% dependent on China. China, this thing started somewhere in mid of January. Then there were holidays. So last 3 4 months, this particular supply chain for panels or maybe certain materials that is distracted. So even the production or the components are made at local level. This is going to hurt the renewable energy sector in a big way. Then risk of being unable to benefit from government incentives. There are certain incentives are declared for that particular financial year, and then maybe once the pressure comes, and then what we are seeing is the energy requirement has gone down by almost 15%. So there is possibility that renewable energy may get hurt because of this particular aspect. Then there can be a likely decrease in investment because of pressure on public and private budget as well as foreign investment. Because if I look at the whole thing at this point, there are so many projects where there is a foreign investment is happening. Even in Indonesia, what I observed is for smaller projects, they have kept it for the local companies, but whereas for a larger projects, they are open to go up to 90-95% of the overseas investment. So these are the some factors. These are going to hurt the whole thing. But what we can expect is government should bear in the mind the structural benefits that renewable is bringing in terms of economic development and job creation, because the projects get completed very fast, and then each of the project can give you a job to maybe 4,000, 5,000 people for over the period of 1 year. So looking at these positive factors, government should not, or maybe government should give the same importance that it used to give for this particular renewable energy projects. Now, I'll go to this electric vehicles. As I mentioned that from 2017 onwards, I'm there in this particular field. And my observations for last 3 years is, this is particularly observations for India, and I think this will be true for most of the countries. The financial viability for two-wheelers and three-wheelers is already there, and then that's the reason most of the projects for two-wheeler is really picking up very well. So last year, if I look at the sale of the vehicles, two-wheelers were sold to the maximum. Three-wheelers, there are electric rickshaws that started in Delhi with few numbers in 3-4 years back, and then it has reached almost 4 lakh numbers or 400,000 numbers in northern region. And regarding electric cars are also coming, but again, if I have done some amount of studies, my observation is there will be at least 1.5-2 years of period that will be taken to get electric cars on Indian roads in a big way, or in the Asian markets big way. Though it is projected that between 2020 to 2030, the electric vehicle number of electric vehicle that is going to grow is a compound annual growth of 22%. That's huge. That's really huge. Only thing time will tell, and then the technological advances, reduction in battery price will definitely make us achieve these numbers. The benefit of electric vehicle is really low maintenance. I'll tell you my experience when we took these 70 cars in Delhi in the first week of January 2019. Throughout the year 2019, we had to send the cars for regular maintenance, but none of the parts had to be changed. Because there is hardly anything in this particular thing. There is a body, there is no engine, so there are hardly any moving parts, and you have a battery, and then you have a powertrain, and then that helps. There is lesser noise, lesser emission, but there are certain things that there are range anxiety, then charging issues, then high cost of acquiring the electric vehicles. These are the some issues that are moving. Then there is the issue of slow charges, fast charges. Then there are multiple types of chargers. These are the issues at which it is struggling a little bit at this point, but definitely people are coming out with a lot of innovative solutions, and it's moving. It's definitely moving. In India, I can talk about Mahindra vehicles. I can talk about Tata vehicles. Tata has recently launched their second model, and then Hyundai Kona has come. And then I'm talking with at least two international players who are discussing with me. I'm one of their committee member who for the type of vehicles that the Indian customers would like to have. So those are the two companies. They will be coming up with their products in 2022. So all those things are happening, and then despite of this high cost, the things are moving. Let me tell you what I had done in 2017-18. So when we decided to get into electric vehicles, I sold my luxury car and then I started traveling with Uber and Ola. I do the same thing till date. So I used to talk with the drivers. My office was at Nariman Point, so 40 minutes of travel. So every day, morning, evening. So there were multiple observations, and what I feel is the price point is really, really important. The minute in Indian context, the vehicle price comes down to say 10,000 US dollars or maybe 7.5 lakh rupees, this particular market is going to explode like anything. And then it is not far away from this, maybe another 1.5 to 2 years, we can see maybe many more vehicles will be electric vehicles on the road. So this was the number that is talking about from the currently 3.2 million electric vehicles. It is going to go up to 26 million vehicles in Asia Pacific, and most of the share is going to Asia. So for market dynamics, there are drivers like favorable government policies and subsidies. For example, now when we took this 70 vehicles, the Mahindra e-Verito vehicle was costing 13.5 lakh rupees. Whereas the same vehicle, which is in a ICE engine, it comes at 7.25 lakhs on road. So government had given a subsidy. There is a FAME subsidy that was coming at 1.5 lakh rupees, almost 2,000 US dollars. Then there was another subsidy, Delhi government subsidy. That's the reason we launched in Delhi. That was another 2,000. So that makes the price to a level where the operational cost is being very low. So the cost of maintaining this particular vehicle is little higher, but you have some inherent benefits with electric vehicles. So these favorable government policies and subsidies is going to give the push to renewable this electric vehicles the way the push was given in solar sector. So I compared this thing, what the solar sector was in 2013, we are there at 2020 in electric vehicles. Then the companies are doing heavy investment. The automakers are doing heavy investment for EVs. Initially, the investments are really high. Tesla is a big example, and then it has become #1 electric vehicle in world. And other guys like Nissan, then BYD, then Hyundai, and then India, Mahindras and Tatas, they have done good amount of investment, and it is really taking the shape very well. And then there are growing concerns over environmental pollution. So this ICE engines vehicles emit high GHG. And then with electric vehicles, we can reduce the dependence on fossil fuels, because anyway we are importing the oil. Then electric vehicles require lesser maintenance that I mentioned. The operating cost of ICE vehicle is really, really low. In rupee terms, if I can tell you, for a normal four-wheeler vehicle, it will cost you between 4.5 rupees to 7 rupees to run 1 kilometer. Whereas your electric vehicle will cost you 1 rupees 20 paise to 2 rupees. So straightforward, there's a reduction by 75% of the cost for running or operating cost. Then there is a demand for increased vehicle range per charge. So currently the vehicles that are available for Mahindra, the range is 140, Tata's it's 110. The another vehicle they have come up with is 200 kilometer per charge. So again, range anxiety is an issue. When I did that analysis of drivers, normal Uber or Ola driver, they are driving 225 to 250 kilometers per day. The minute people achieve this range with a price band of say 10,000 US dollars of 7.5 lakh rupees per vehicle, the market is going to be really taking a big jump in this particular thing. Then there are many increase in EV models, many EV models are coming. There are restraints. Currently, there are certain limitations that we are going. There is a lack of standardization of the charging infrastructure. So there are various charging things that are happening. Is CHAdeMO, which is used by Nissan and other Japanese cars. CCS is being used by BMW, General Motors, Volkswagen, and other European cars. Superchargers are used by Tesla. GBT technology is used by BYD, and Bharat chargers are used in India. And in Indian context, this GBT technology is being followed. Then challenges of high cost of EV in comparison to ICE vehicles. Because of the subsidy, it is becoming good thing. But even then, post subsidy, the cost is still 50% higher than the ICE vehicle. But slowly people are working on it, and then I'm seeing a possibility of 1.5 years where the cost is going to go down. Then the range of the vehicles 100 to 400 kilometer. The Hyundai Kona talks about 420 kilometer, but it in actually it gives maybe 320-25 kilometer, but it's still a good range. Then let us talk about what is going to happen or effect of COVID-19. Again, you can see the auto sector was not doing so well in India, and post-COVID, the numbers are not looking so great. But what I'm seeing based on my observation in last 2-3 years, that two-wheelers and three are really going to get a good shape because people are going to adopt the social distancing norm. So people would not love to sit in this. If it is possible, they can take their own vehicle. And then there are multiple brands, including Hyundai Electric and other guys, they have come up where they have come up with a electric scooter with 25 kilometer range, which is slow, but this is sufficient for city driving, and you get a real good range. The operational cost is really low, and then each charge gives you 50 to 80 kilometer. So I'm seeing a good future for this particular two-wheelers. Not sure about three-wheelers. Four-wheelers, again, because of the social distancing, the cost is going to increase. So particularly these two-wheelers are going to do really well post-COVID. That's my observation and my understanding. Then, how much time do we have?
You have 2 minutes. But
okay,
how much
so,
time? No, how
so
much
I think,
no. What I mean to say is, now you are coming to opportunities.
Yeah. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, so it's okay. What is your time? 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes should be more than enough. If you tell me, I'll stop.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah.
Size and that's it. No problem.
Yeah. So now what has happened is this solar energy, it has become cheap. Maybe 3.5 rupees in Indian rupees, maybe 5 cents for our Filipino friends, 5 cents per kilowatt. And then if this renewable energy is used for charging the electric vehicles, first, the emissions that are happening. People talk about electric vehicles reduce the emission, but if the power comes from coal, then obviously you are responsible for those emissions. Only thing, it reduces pollution on the road. But with renewable energy, imagine the power is produced by renewable energy, because what I'm seeing is the energy requirement for electric vehicle is going to go up really fast. And in this case, if this energy is produced with renewable energy resources, maybe storage is done, it will be really helpful. And this is one opportunity for EV charging stations powered by renewable energy. Then battery swapping stations. I mentioned that recently I'm working on this battery technology. One of the Indian origin US citizen has brought this technology, and then I'm helping them to set up the operations here in India, as well as marketing this particular product. This battery, because of its unique technology or thermal management technology, it maintains the inside cell temperature 25 degrees centigrade. In India, the temperature ranges between say 25 to maybe 50 degree. So as the temperature increases, the battery number of cycles reduces, and that's the big pain point for India or the countries which are having temperature more than 30 degree. So this battery swapping stations is going to be a big investment opportunity. And then this particular vehicle to grid has not yet come in India or Asian countries. But this is again, I'm seeing a big opportunity that your vehicle with V2G, it gets connected with grid. So when grid requires power, it can pull power from your battery, and then it pays you for whatever electricity the grid takes from that. So this is one of the investment opportunity for AM guys. Now in AM we have been always taught to fight hard, whether you go in a job or whether you go into entrepreneurship, because whatever we learn in 2 years of MBA or one years of MM and MDM, definitely it makes you becoming really tough. So I can see this many new startups in EV mobility that are coming. In fact, I'm a part of at least 2-3 startups in the renewable energy sector. So these are the investment opportunities with a great amount of strategic experience that our people are having. They can work as mentors to many startups. They can become the investors in many startups. Maybe if you want to have a look at certain opportunities, we can talk with me privately. I can definitely share those opportunities, and then we can take it forward from there. So the opportunities that I'm seeing is in new startups in EV mobility, then last mile mobility, then battery technology, then two-wheelers and three-wheelers manufacturing companies, then tech companies offering mobility solutions. And many of our AM alumni are working in this particular mobility sector. So they will agree with me on this particular aspect. So thank you very much, everybody, for your patience and time. And thanks, Nikhil, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Kiran. What I would do is, as you have talked on two subjects, renewable energy and electric vehicles.
Yeah.
First, I will put you the question which has been put in the chat box of renewable energy.
Yes. Yes, please.
This is from Ramesh. He has two questions. His first question is, has there been any work done using graphene? Okay, that is his first question. And his second question is that, which is the benchmark India should have for against other countries for non-renewable energy?
This is for renewable energy?
Yeah, for renewable energy.
Okay. So again, renewable energy, there are two things. For wind, every country, forget about the country, even for various states, you will generate a differential power. So the power generation cost from one state to another state will differ. So similarly, you can't do a benchmarking. Only reverse bidding is discovering the pricing. It's challenging the entrepreneurs to come up with a aggressive pricing and then give the power in that aggressive in that reverse bidding price. So benchmarking may not be possible at this point. The conditions in China or in other countries are totally different. So for Indian conditions, for each of the states, there are different conditions. So I don't think benchmarking will be possible. Second is, what was the second question?
The use of graphene.
For renewable energy, I'm not aware about any such thing that is happening on graphene. Maybe I can talk with Ramesh at offhand to understand if something is happening on that front.
Okay. Next question from Ambar Chandra. How does the efficiency of solar power generation reduce with time?
So when we talk about solar power, solar panels, they give you a guarantee of 80%. So for 20 years of lifespan, it should go down, it should not go down to 80%. So normally my observation is the in first year it loses maybe 1.5–2%, and then slowly over the period of 20 years, maybe 75 basis point to 1%, a good project. Again, I can tell you why these panels lose efficiency, but that's not the question. A normal good panel with a good glass and a good back sheet, it should give you 80%. That means 20% reduction in efficiency over the period of 20 years.
Next question is from Manish Panchal. It's a big question, so I'll answer as concise as possible. Your views on investment and maintenance for solar, wind, hydro, thermal life cycle cost per megawatt, say for a period of 30 years.
Okay, so biomass project life that is considered is 15 years, because I have worked in biomass. I had invested in 150 megawatt of biomass. Then wind, it is considered 25 years. Solar, again, the lifespan is considered 25 years. And hydro, it is considered 30 to 35 years. So if you ask me the cost, on cost front, the hydro project is costing maybe around 8.5 to 10 crore rupees per megawatt, whereas wind project costs you say 7.5 to 8 crore rupees per megawatt, whereas biomass project costs you say 5.5 to 6 crore, whereas solar project will cost you 3.5 crore rupees. Now, for biomass, you have operation cost in the form of raw material, whereas wind, solar, and hydro, you don't have any raw material cost. So the only cost that is considered is operational and maintenance cost. So over the period of 25 years, if I considered a benchmark, the lowest cost per generation, because solar gives you a PLF of 20–22%, whereas wind gives you 28–30%, whereas biomass you can go up to 80–85%. So and hydro, it gives you ranging from 40 to 60%. So again, like typically AIM answer, it depends on case to case basis. But if you ask me where do I have to invest my money, I will invest in solar plus maybe energy storage.
Next question is from Atul Sharma. Which state in India is best for solar project from demand, supply, and government support perspective?
Maybe I will start with government support. So whatever work I have done in this sector for starting from 2004, I have seen government of Gujarat is the best state to work with. Maybe starting from Mr. Modi's days as a chief minister, there is a culture in the where it supports entrepreneurs or maybe project developers. And on generation basis, maybe we can talk about Rajasthan, but on policy basis, maybe there is a big question mark. And for solar, the generation in Rajasthan can be high. Next to will be Gujarat, and that's why there are many more megawatt has come in Gujarat.
Next question from Manish Panchal is that your views on hydrogen fuel cell.
I think we are far away from hydrogen fuel cell. Then safety is a big issue at this particular point. No doubt there are few people from Italy, they are in India talking with various people to get into hydrogen cell business. But I have my reservations on hydrogen cell technology at this moment.
Next question is from Rahul Basin. How is the battery swapping technology progressing, especially in 2W doing in India and APAC? Any learning from Taiwan? Do you think battery swapping would be the best way forward?
Now let us think about a two-wheeler cost in India. say a vehicle having a range of 50 kilometer, it will cost you say 50,000 rupees. The vehicle having a higher range and higher speed, it will cost you 80,000. So the battery cost that is coming will be between 25,000 rupees to 45,000 rupees. Now, in this case, one of the issue that is happening is the vehicles are coming with the battery, and then people will not be very happy to give your battery because my battery should be better than others' battery. So battery swapping per se with individuals seems to be at this point difficult. But if somebody comes forward with a situation where vehicle is sold at X cost, the battery swapping or some typical membership is given, and then the battery swapping is available at specific depots, it should be possible. It should be possible. In fact, I'm working with one of the startup with for the last mile mobility, where I'm giving the battery technology and then having the benefit of temperature, because the batteries, if you want to charge them fast, the temperature increases very fast, and then that depletes the battery very fast. So with this particular caveat, battery swapping should be possible, but the vehicle and the battery should be separated in this case.
Okay. Question from Malvi Shankar. What is your view on solar power application for fishing boats and inland water transport? Example, Andaman Island tourism.
Um, so let me go back to this particular basic assumption. How many kilometers they have to go inside this thing? So how do they generate the solar power? Either they have to get the solar power in the battery format, because here the question is how much area it takes to produce 1 kilowatt. So for 1 kilowatt production, you need to have 100 square feet of area. So for a fishing boat, maybe it can give you say 15 to 20 kilowatt of power generation, and then if the boat is again the question will be how much energy it will require. So having a solar power support for any of the vehicle, whether it's a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, or boat, it can be an additional support. It can't be a dedicated support.
One last question, and then there are two doyens of our alumni association with us today, Mr. MP Singh and Ramesh Gali. So they
Hello,
will
sir.
question themselves. So first, one last question from Mukund Venkatraman, which has been here, and then I'll ask Ramesh and MP to themselves talk. So last question from Mukund is this. Solar farms have land intensive requirements. How much land required for megawatt? Isn't there a challenge in alternative use of land, fertile land versus arid?
Okay. So normally for 1 megawatt, you need around 4 acres of land. So alternative usage, there were certain tenders in Karnataka that had come. So what they were suggesting is you set up the project like a rooftop project. So the project should be at a height of say 10 to 12 feet height, and below which you can cultivate the crops. So that was one experiment. The bids were done at a little higher price, but that is possible, still possible.
So MP sir, all yours. First of all,
good evening, sir. Thank you very much. You made my day.
My pleasure entirely. Thanks. It was such a pleasure listening to your very loaded deliberations today, Kiran. Compliments.
Thank you,
you continue to be a storehouse of information and knowledge. And honestly, I didn't realize about your forays into the electric vehicles area, which is the future. And I'll keep the whole thing very short and very brief wherever the limitations of the time. I just wanted to know if there's any policy laid down by the government or whosoever for having these charging stations at various locations along the highways or inside the garages or inside the basement of so many societies. And the concern is that, the charging stations also will have multiple charging points in terms of what kind of battery capacity they have to charge. And I was not very clear about that. For example, two-wheeler will have a different charging capacity. Will the battery capacity the same, or it will be different? It has to be different in any case.
Yes, yes.
So these were the charging stations were something that I can see some future. But in every location, even in rural India, in UP, Madhya Pradesh, and South India, everywhere. The third question, if I can ask you in
Please.
continuation, is the raw materials available for manufacture of batteries here. Major players who are now manufacturing batteries are the Exide or Bharat or whatever you call it. Is there any scope for smaller players to get in, and then what's the capital cost in that case, and with the technology available? You have your collaborator in USA who is wanting to do something. Is he also doing something for the batteries or just for the vehicles?
I'll take answer in two parts. One is charging stations. Yes, charging can be a big opportunity. Even putting a small charging infrastructure, that's going to be a big opportunity. But we are competing with people like IOC, HPCL, BPCL, all these big boys. They are doing their charging thing at their petrol stations. And then one deterrent is these vehicles can be charged at home also. So with the AC charger, this can be charged at home. So the real business will be there for a long distance vehicles, like on the highways and other places. There can be a possibility. One solution that can be there is maybe you can put something like if we look at say Mumbai Pune road, Khopoli, we can put say a big 100 kilowatt type of project there at a rooftop solar, and then maybe draw 450 kilowatt of power, and then store it in a battery, and then that can be given, because it doesn't take whether it's a small vehicle, larger vehicle, or a bigger vehicle, you need to have this particular connector. So by putting different connectors for different vehicle with the same infrastructure, you can charge two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler. So that is first answer. Second is regarding none of the players in India are producing the battery cells. So Adani is trying to do that thing. The cost for setting up such project can be ranging from 250 to 500 crore rupees. So at this point, there is not much market. That's why nobody has come forward. But I'm sure with Adani's, and then afterwards Maruti is also working on this battery thing. So maybe we will be having these batteries. It will happen something like the imported Chinese panels were cheaper than Indian panels manufactured here. So something similar situation is going to happen, but over the period of next 3 to 5 years, as the electric vehicles increase, the domestic production increases, definitely many more players are going to come. Now regarding the raw material, again, it's a big issue. India is trying to source those things. Maybe they are trying, our ministry is trying to put some foot on some of the mines for this particular lithium ion thing material. So nickel also lithium ion. So all those things are happening. And then one observation that I have is, whatever happens, these lithium ion phosphate batteries are going to stay till 2030. People will talk about many new technologies, but there is nobody very close to coming before 2030. So 2027, 28, the new technologies will start coming, and then they will start competing with this lithium ion, because safety is big issue. And that's the reason lithium ion phosphate is the safest technology at this moment.
Pretty good. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
The great job you're doing.
Thank you, Kiran, for a very exhaustive presentation, very self-effacing as your personality is, and which questions you couldn't answer, you were very frank enough. That's what is more endearing. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for this joining us. Thank you so much.